Hey guys, sup? Scottish Duck here once again, and I wear this t-shirt a lot in my reviews, don't I? I don't know, this is a really comfy t-shirt and I really like the design, so I don't know, I just always wear it. But anyway, review slash thoughts on Yooka. Okay, this is going to be fun. I'm actually currently just playing Yooka. I beat it last night. I'm currently trying to get 100%. I've got it on pause right now in the other room, but I thought I'd come in here just to quickly talk about it while my mind is still very much in the zone of the game. Normally I like to wait a wee while or whatever, but I don't know, I just want to get this out of the way real quick. Who knows, maybe my opinion will change, that tends to happen, but whatever. Let's get into it. Okay. So, I guess, for those of you that somehow don't know the introduction to this game, this is a game developed by Playtonic, which is made up of former Rare employees, and they basically said, we're going to make a Banjo-Kazooie game, but we don't own the rights to Banjo-Kazooie, but fuck it, we'll do it anyway. But instead of a bird and a bear, we'll give it a lizard and a bat, and aye, that's what we got, wasn't it? Now, these are two of the best games you will get on the N64, absolutely. You all know me as like a massive 3D platformer fan, but funnily enough, Banjo's never been like high on my list of affections. You know, I really like it, I really respect the hell out of it. Banjo-Kazooie 1 is a brilliant game, and I think Banjo-Tooie is a lot better, really. But yeah, it's just never been that high up, even though I've always like respected it as so much. I've played for the first one a couple times, and yeah. So as a result, I never actually backed Yooka when it first had its Kickstarter. You were able to back later on for like a sort of slacker backer thing, and I decided sometime last year to just put down enough money to get myself like a digital copy. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Incidentally, I played this game on PC. I had the PS4 physical version pre-ordered, but I kind of decided to cancel that, partially because of monetary reasons, but also because the console version wasn't quite up to snuff. Apparently it's been patched now so that it is a stable game and whatnot, but I'll get it sometime down the line because I do want to own a physical copy of it for sure. But for now, I've just been playing this on the PC, and for the most part, the PC version is wonderful. There's very, like, random little issues that I encountered. The most significant of which was when one of the transformations in the game, you know, just like Banjo-Kazooie, you can transform into different, like, various shapes to help you complete objectives throughout levels. One transformation has you transform into a bunch of fish, and you can press the X button to do like attack, and every time I did that attack the game like paused for like a second on one frame, and it was just like, it just looked so unhealthy. It was like, why are you doing this? So that was really the only issue I had with the with this version, quite frankly. But otherwise it was like flawless. 60 frames per second, and this is the only version that is on 60 frames per second. There's an option to put it down to 30. I remember I tried that out and I'm like, I had such a graphics whore moment. I'm like, how can people live like this? Maybe that new PC is really getting to me now, you know? But yeah, talking about the game itself, okay, what do I think of it? I really like it, but I am really like understanding as to why it's getting the sort of mixed reception it is, because you go on like Metacritic or Game Rankings, it's sort of in the high 70s, low 70s, high 60s, depending on which version. Like the versions are kind of like different for whatever reason. Playing it, I do see why, but at the same time, this game was, it feels like it was made for me, being that sort of like cutesy collectathon 3D platformer that we haven't seen in so long. So I guess being a fan of that genre, being an avid fan just like me, you are really not going to mind either way. But if you don't like that genre, do not expect this game to like help you at all, because it's not going to be for everybody, and I guess that's the whole nature of a Kickstarter project, you know, like, it's supposed to be this sort of game that is apparently not going to be a major success and that people just want to like back because they really want to play it, and in that regard, I was really satisfied. I was. So let's like, just to talk about sort of like jump between good points and bad points here. Probably like, one thing I want to say off the top, right, is that I have really fallen in love with Yooka and Laylee as characters, you know. I think we all fell in love with them at first, because, you know, you just saw them and you were immediately like, oh my god, the character design was so gorgeous and so adorable and expressive and all that shit. But now that I've actually played the game with them, I just really want to see them again, you know, like, they are just Banjo and Kazooie, you know. Yooka is quite polite and just wants to get on with things, and Laylee is rude and calls people names and stuff. They are the exact same characters. There is literally no difference, you know, but I was cool with that. I guess I would say I like the design more than Banjo-Kazooie, which is kind of a bold statement, but, well, if you were going by this design anyway, yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I own this game. I was looking on the shelf and I'm like, do I even own this one? And surely I did. I didn't think I'd have a point to bring it up in this video, but there you go. So. Okay. Where the fuck was I? So yeah, I really love these two. You know, I want to see more. I definitely do. And the graphics are so gorgeous overall, you know, it just looks like a pair. It's... I don't think there's been a game like this ever since, like... I'm probably really, I'm probably wrong when I say this, but you just look at it and you think, that is N64 in current times, you know, and I don't think any game really got to that level. There's been games that have looked nice, that have looked cute, that have like made you just really want to explore the world, but not in like the one-to-one true successor nature that you got in a lot of like collectathons in the N64 GameCube era of gaming, you know. Basically what I'm trying to say is the world looks wonderful and I really want to explore it, okay? With that said though, it's not as like, there aren't as many worlds in this game as previous Banjo games. You know, Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, including the like hub world, of which Yooka-Laylee has one too, had like 10 levels, I think. And this one only has 6, okay, again, including the hub world. So, and even though they're technically a lot bigger and more in them, I don't know, I kind of would have preferred more variety in like levels and stuff. I don't know if that was like a Kickstarter constraint or whatever, but yeah, I just a little bit disappointed by the length itself. Also, and this was like, I remember seeing like reviews complaining about this, and I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? People were talking about the level design in the game, saying it wasn't really that good. And I played through the first 2 levels, and I was like, fuck off, this is wonderful. But it doesn't really hold up from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th levels, okay? And what I kind of mean by that is that the first 2 levels really feel alive, okay? They look so handcrafted, they look really thought out, they look really imaginative. It's pretty wonderful. But, and I feel like once I say this, people aren't going to be able to unsee it when they go to play the game. But levels 3, 4, and 5 are kind of just like flat lands with random things around them, you know? The first level is like made up of islands, floating islands and stuff. The second level has like a tall mountain and all these caves and stuff. It feels like really imaginative, but yeah, I think that's what most people are kind of complaining about. It doesn't really hold up as well throughout the entirety of the game. Music-wise, nowhere near as good as Banjo. I really have to say that. It's I feel like this is something that gets said about quite a few games, because I remember I said it, I was thinking about Zelda as well, Breath of the Wild. The music, rather than being catchy, kind of decides to be more atmospheric, really. Basically what that means is that it's music, when I say it anyway, I mean that it's music that you can't really hum, it's just sort of there and does its job. And yeah, it does do its job, and there are 1 or 2 tracks in the game that are like genuinely catchy, but there's nothing like on the level of like Treasure Trove Cove or like Spiral Mountain or oh fuck, what's the name of that? Bubblegum Swamp and stuff, you know, just like loads of these, like Glitter Glitch Mine, I love that one, like from the other Banjo games, you know, it was just such wonderful music, so catchy, just like in your head for years. And this one doesn't really have something like that. It's a bit unfortunate. But I think, like, honestly, probably like the main reason this game is getting the like lower reviews that it's getting now, I actually, on this camera right now, have a video of me ranting about this. This was before I even played Yooka-Laylee, because I've been meaning to do a video on this for so long. It is such a big pet peeve of mine. I hate it when people say, this game feels like insert console here, and meaning it is a bad thing, okay? Like, there's been a few games this generation where people are like, it feels like a PS3 or 360 game, and meaning that is a bad thing. That does not make any sense to me, and I'll not get into it here, okay? But yeah, there's been a lot of people that have said, this game feels like too N64 for my liking. And I don't get that. I don't get that complaint. I really don't, because you're basically saying all N64 games were terrible, and I know that a lot of I'm aware of the concept of games aging, okay? I get that. But I hate to like think that we all live in a world where we can't look back into the past and at least appreciate and still have like a good bit of fun, even though things still are technically better now than they've ever been, okay? You'll know hear me, like, I don't want to be one of those nostalgia-filled people that thinks things were so much better back when we were younger, back when we, you know, looking through rose-tinted glasses and stuff. I'm just saying there's good stuff then and there's good stuff now. We don't have to, like, judge the stuff we get now by saying it's too much like what we had then. Am I making any sense? But, see, here's the thing, right? When people say it feels like an N64 game, I think they're just talking about some of the early 3D game tropes, like dodgy camera, you know, some things that felt like they weren't really working out well, like, you know, when you're flying in this game, you get a flight ability later on. The controls are shit, you know, you can't, like, do anything. It's just so awkward to control, and some of the transformations are awkward to control as well. And, I guess some of the challenges are just, like, really frustrating. You know, these sort of things that could very well have been in, like, games like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, they're here as well. But if that's the case, just like say that it's not that fun or it feels a bit clunky. You don't have to bring up the N64 again. That's my pet peeve right there. I still might do that video, but who knows. And really that's it, you know, quite a few of the challenges in this game just aren't that fun, and I think that's what really is dragging the game down as a whole, you know? Like, one of the things that you can do to get, like, the pages, they're called pages in this game, you know, as opposed to jiggies, brilliant platonic, is that you find these, like, arcade machines and you can get a couple of pages from them if you play them and get the high score and whatnot. And not a single one of them was that fun. You know, they were all really clunky, they all felt a bit like, yeah, they just weren't that fun. Same with the boss battles. A lot of the boss battles were shite, especially the last one. That one was just so infuriating with how it, like, with how you had to hit them and stuff, and I don't know, I was just so frustrated doing most of the bosses in this game. Even the minecart levels, which I suppose aren't that bad, but they felt a bit clunky to me as well. Just the way that you controlled them and how easy it was to muck it up, and like you would just get brought out of the flow of them whenever you were playing them and you fucked something up. Now, I don't mean that in a sense that because you're playing bad that makes the experience bad, because if you're playing bad you just get better, and sure enough, in a lot of cases in this game, you keep practicing and you get better. But there's just that level of frustration that you get as well that I wouldn't say that you get in other games, and yeah, that kind of just what I feel like bogged the experience down. It could have used a bit more polish. Am I making any sense here? Basically what I'm trying to say is a lot of the game's challenges just aren't as fun as they should be, and I think that is the game's biggest problem, okay? But again, with that said, I still really liked it because I was able to see past quite a bit of the admittingly really frustrating bits, because I love these sort of collectathon games, you know? I love seeing the total screen of a world like fill up gradually and get that satisfaction of like, oh, I've done something here, that means I can go here now and get a pagey here, you know? That was actually one of the reasons I loved Banjo-Tooie so much, because Banjo-Tooie is a really complicated game, you know? Nowhere near as complicated as, Yooka-Laylee's nowhere near as complicated as this, but you could spend like 2 hours in a level and just be like halfway done. Your first hour is just spent setting stuff up to get jiggies later on down the line, you know? It's insane, and that's kind of one of the things I loved about it, and that feeling albeit to a much lesser extent, is in Laylee, as well as all of these collectathon games that you get, and yeah, I'm very glad it exists. I'm very glad it exists. I really want to see a sequel. I don't know if you particularly need to kickstart it, but I would really love to see a sequel. I suppose that's one other thing I'll give Platonic. This Kickstarter was well handled, I would say. You know, it never really got controversial like Mighty No. 9 did. I guess the only like slightly controversial thing was like that shit with JonTron, which we'll not get into. Don't stop. Don't. We're not going to talk about that. We're here for happy game reviews and shit. Don't bring that shit in, please, please. But yeah, I think that was the only like vaguely controversial thing that happened. At least what I can remember. I don't know if I have anything wrong. Hopefully I don't. But either way, that's it, guys. Yeah. Thumbs up, I guess. Yooka-Laylee, I liked it. But again, I would only recommend it to fans of these games, for sure. But then again, if you backed the game, you pretty much already were a fan, because you saw that and you're like, Banjo! And yeah. Okay. See you after, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.